Hey guys, how's it going? Muthurajah here, back with a new video lesson for you all. In today's lesson, I want to talk about what are the actual differences when it comes to knowing licks and actually being able to improvise. Okay? Do licks enable you to improvise? To certain degrees, yes, because what starts to happen is that once you have internalized a certain lick, let's say something like over a 2/5, something like that, which is very Clifford Brown, Charlie Parker, that bop era kind of a phrase. Problem that starts to happen is that once it's internalized as a lick, you know it works over a 2/5/1. So you start to use things that you know works, which are already not even pre-planned, but it's ingrained in you because you have practiced it so much, you default to it, and that's where the problems start, because now you're not actually improvising, you're just plugging and playing as and when needed. But now, of course, it's easier said than done. Stop playing licks, try to improvise. But let's say we're working with a lick like this. Okay, so on A minor 7, we're doing a C major 7 arpeggio from the B, the 7th, up to the 9. And then B, D at the top, and then B flat D for the D7, which is like a flat 13. Okay, so my takeaway from this is not even just it's primarily just, which is actually a melody from Pent Up House, Sonny Rollins. So that motion is very interesting to me. Okay, how do I now absorb the actual content of that phrase and not just go? Because here's the thing, this works over a quick 2/5/1, but what if I have 2, 2, 3, 4, 1? Obviously the easiest answer would be 1, 2, 3, 4, instead of playing it over the 2 and the 5, you do it just on the 5. But again, that's the problem of thinking licks. Now, not to leave the non-jazz players out in the cold, but this very much applies to any style of bass playing. Whether you're trying to build your bass fills and stuff like that, you can't default to things that you've learned from somebody by transcribing them or reading tabs or notation. You need to understand, absorb the content, and then you got to very quickly move on. One of the biggest traps I fell into a few years ago, I'm still trying to work my way out of this, is I was playing so many Hadrian Furrow lines, these kind of things, that I started to piss myself off. I still use these ideas and these melodic shapes and contours, but I quickly started to learn to adapt it to the way I wanted to, and most importantly, I heard it. But I struggled because my fingers would always default to all of that I just played. While it sounds and feels good, didn't require much effort for me because those are very default things for me to play if I'm playing kind of like a blues. But having said that, it's not wrong to play licks. It's not wrong to study licks. But what you need to do is draw a line. You learn a lick, it could be something like, that's from Confirmation, Charlie Parker. Or the opening of Billy's Bounce, Charlie Parker. That's the opening of Cherokee by Clifford. I actually learned quite a number of these opening phrases and stuff like that. Can't remember that. That's the opening of Michael Brecker's Some Skunk Funk. Now, that for instance, it's a half-step lick, but do I use it in that motion? No. Sometimes I do, but I don't think deliberately like, hey, that lick worked well. So the notion of licks, I need to learn to play licks. I know a few licks, man, but I can't play beyond that. Yes, of course, because you're at the end of the day playing somebody else's work, and you can't go beyond that because you are not that said person. I know I have a bunch of lessons on the channel where I talk about certain licks or phrases, but I try my best to get the thought across that at the end of the day, you have to play you at some point. So while learning the lick is great, you can play it and, you know. I've played giant steps countless times. I don't recall the last time I used. But I like what's going on there. So that shape on the E flat major 7 to the A minor 7, landing on the 5th. Or so I took apart those movements and motions within a single phrase, and then I started to just understand it and then keep that in my mind and then try to improvise. So if I took this logic, okay, so that is F minor 7, B flat 7, E flat major 7, A minor 7, D 7, G major 7. I like that. Okay, so that scale motion is quite cool. That's your bebop scale. So now let me try to find a way to emulate that without actually playing. So now I'm actually starting to take these licks and to slowly turn them into my own thing. Of course, this takes a lot of practice for me to be able to say, okay, I'm going to do this, as opposed to you need to be able to have a certain command, you need to be able to have a certain amount of control over your instrument. Okay, so from here, I got I kind of modified it. It doesn't sound exactly the same anymore, which is great. That's what you're trying to do. So if I take, let's say, that phrase from earlier, that's all I needed to do. I took the key points of that phrase, which is, and then I just went, and then I get that sweet breaker kind of sound. So now, unless you're somebody who put in the work, you wouldn't be able to say, hey, yeah, you got that from Pent Up House, or you got that from here, or you got that from Charlie Parker, and then you did that, didn't you? No. One of the reasons why, for the lack of a better word, when I listen to certain players that I love and I enjoy, I'm able to predict what they're going to play. It's not because of the predictability, but just because you know how much work they've put in, you can kind of start to relate as to where their train of thought is going. And that can only happen if you actually take the licks and study them beyond what they represent for you to play. Playing them is great, but beyond that, you need to put in the work, you need to study, and you need to be able to see beyond just being able to execute a lick really quick. You know, for instance, I'm going to give you one little phrase which I use a lot, and I think I've done it before, a hexatonic. Okay, so that's F, G, A, C, D, E. Okay, now that by itself sounds pretty good. But what do I get beyond that? Beyond this, just this, obviously playing it backwards and then playing them in stepward motions. So I can create countless possibilities. Then I can do skipped notes. So, countless possibilities, but I would definitely urge you, I'm doing this for the sake of the lesson, I tend to get through things quickly. Take your time, one note, two notes at a time. Really learn to adapt yourself to understand how those two notes work, or that one note against that one chord works. Sit, really listen to it, try to play, take it nice and easy, get the phrases down, get the licks down, and then try and go beyond just being able to play them. Okay, I hope this helps, and I'll see you guys in the chat until the next one. Peace.